I'm your host, No Go Pro Hero, and welcome back to the NoShow, episode 4. So, I'm sure you remember.
Woo! Look at that. But it doesn't look like my journey is going to be as smooth as that.
Well, now is this week, and I'll explain exactly what was going on. Okay, enough is enough. I did actually receive Kaba for this. So, seriously, what happened? Now it's gonna be another written reading off a script style format today. Because I have a lot to say and I kind of want to say it right. And I haven't got to the point where I can just ad lib everything and it will come out right. And if I don't say things quite right, things will come back to bite me. So I did write a script. So we'll be looking down at pretty much reading that verbatim. So it's not going to be amazing. You're not going to witness these eyeballs staring at you. But what can you do? I don't actually know how long it's going to take me to read this. It's a little lengthy, but it should bring the show to a good length today. So, without further ado, let's get cracking. So, seriously, what happened? Well, first, I may have to give a little bit of context to those that haven't kept up to date with what I'm doing. I am an Android developer, and I make apps that go on devices like these for a living. Where's my prop? Oh, man, I'm so organized. Like these. If you don't know what Android device is, this is an Android device. Samsung Galaxy S6. Retired, obviously. Not the phone I use anymore, but not bad. Anyway, where was I? Oh, but only if it was that simple. It's not. Now, this was not the direction I thought my life would go half a year ago. But considering everything that's happened, I can't say it turned out too badly. Why is this fact important to the story? Well, it's because of how my work arrangement is done. I will not name who, but I work for an agency who's, to put it lightly, not an ideal employer. At the time of getting the job, I was fairly desperate to find anything that would kickstart my career. And because of this, I fell right into the lion's den. For any advice for anyone still at university, get yourself on a graduate scheme or get hired from a careers fair. Just do something while you're still at uni, because failing to do that, it will exponentially get tougher the longer you remain unemployed after graduation. And the circumstances of my time at university were, to put it, I don't know, in some way or another, not a traditional one, quite a weird one. So trying to do anything the normal way would probably be impossible for me. I knew the risks at the time and told myself I'll do whatever it takes to power through regardless of the barriers. I pursued electrical engineering at university, but I couldn't stand it by the time I graduated. So instead of doing what most sane people would and get a job while looking for a chance to switch careers, I decided to nuke my life back to square one. I worked primarily on myself with a side of web development for 2 years. I enjoyed coding, I loved how it let me be creative and entrepreneurial. I worked on my coding skills to the point I thought I was ready to apply for work. Even though I'd made several mistakes along the way, now was my time. I managed to get to the final interviews of an apprentice level software development job, which was not, it was an okay day. It was a full day group interview, so, you know, for anyone who's ever done a full day group interview, you know, like how those go. I thought I actually did quite well and stood out both in terms of ability and character, but I was not selected. That disappointed me, but shortly after, I was hit up with an opportunity to work for the company I'm currently working with. Interestingly, I'd received an offer to apply to them, which sounds strange, to receive an offer to apply to them. But I've received emails from them in the past saying, apply, just do it right now, apply online right now, do it, just do it. What are you waiting for? Apply right now, do it. But I should say, I was never interested in that. I was doing web development. This was for Android development, which is something I knew nothing about, but I was now very desperate, so voila, now an Android developer. So as I was saying, I was desperate and I applied. I thought I absolutely failed the initial interview, but somehow I still managed to make it through. This required me to leave Norwich and go it alone in London. To be honest, I was actually looking forward to gaining independence and actually having something to show for all the work I had put in over the past 2 years. It was painful waking up day after day to the fact that I believed I achieved so little of my potential. But now I was finally doing something to change that. So, the successful candidates would receive 2 months intensive training and then would be shipped off to companies as contractors with 5 years of experience in the field. Now, this was clinically insane to me, and it should sound clinically insane to you as I'm talking about it. And this was clearly not what I signed up for. It was the El Clasico bait and switch. I was still writing my further maths exams at the time they claimed I started working as an Android developer. We had to lie in interviews about our experience and abilities and win contracts, and then we had to set off and actually do them. Now, what do you think will happen when people exaggerate about their abilities to such an extent? Well, you guessed it. They will get exposed, humiliated, and fired from their contract when they don't deliver. And in fact, this is what happens to virtually everyone at the company. So why do my company do this? Well, it's a simple mathematical equation. The amount of money these companies pay for a senior contractor is in the range of 400 to 650, maybe at a push 700 a day. That adds up to well over 100k any way you look at it. And it's really hard to make that kind of money without being a doctor, work in finance, or run your own company in the UK. However, we, as the people who are actually doing the work, only make 25% of the pay we legitimately work for. Legitimately. And we can't leave because we were bound by our employment contract. 2 years, and there's a fee to leave early. Of course, this isn't what I signed up for. They're already broken their part of their how do I put it? They're already broken their end of the deal. But what can you do? Moving on. I'll say more about that at another time, because that would be its own story completely. But they done this because this would stop us from leaving once we felt confident enough to go it alone. Because you can literally leave, get a contract for yourself, you know exactly how the game is played now, and there is a game to get in work. It's actually not as hard as you initially think it is. once you understand the game. In fact, the difference between someone being employed and not employed is actually pretty much just the game. Staying employed is about your ability, but actually getting the job doesn't matter. You can be the worst employee ever, contractor ever, and still get work. That's how bad it is. You can know nothing and just bullshit your way through. Of course, you won't keep the job, but for those of you struggling to get work, but you actually have the ability, then this is great. Well, this is why we're locked in for 2 years, because then they wouldn't get any money from us anymore. What a bother. And yeah, as I was saying, there's so much to talk about this. It will be its own complete episode, I am sure. So what happened with me? I managed to win a contract in Edinburgh. That's what took me up here. For what company, you may ask? Well, I don't feel like I should mention that at this time. But me and another colleague did end up working for this ex-company together, actually even on the same team. Now, they had high expectations of us because of what they were paying us, and also because of what we communicated in the interview process. Of course, it was going to feel like hanging on the razor's edge to get through this one. Though I believed in my abilities, I knew all I had to do was learn on the job fast enough to meet their expectations before they had the chance to think I couldn't perform and ship me. Bye-bye. I had this burning drive to level up, even if it meant sacrificing sleep and doing all the usual things that I enjoy doing, like gaming and Netflix. There was enough content surrounding my time at Company X for another story or two. However, my colleague couldn't hack it and got fired before his 3-month contract was up, and I was the only one who remained. When I found out about him getting fired, it's interesting because I actually found out by my manager saying, well, have you heard about that guy? Yeah, we're gonna have to let that guy go. He was just slowing down the team. But we're gonna evaluate your performance in January. So from now till then, just work really hard, get the work done, and we'll offer you a 12-month contract. Yeah. 12-month extension. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, oh, he's getting fired. But oh man, a 12-month contract. Yeah. That's not bad. That's not shabby. Considering this is the first time I was doing this, I was like, well, I must have done something right for that to happen. When I say something right, I mean to be able to blend in like that takes some real skill. It finally felt like I was traveling down a path I'd spent so long crafting. A path to something resembling a victory. I very much ended 2019 reveling in how far I had come, even though I still knew that I was just getting started. Come January, starting back work on a Monday, the 6th, I felt like I was actually starting to fit in. And even start to improve how we done things. Only a couple of days back to work, I was told by my company, and later confirmed by a middleman my company was working with, that I had already gotten an offer by Manager Y. And this made me feel like I had accomplished a massive feat. With my own ability and merit, I was able to defy the odds and level up from someone who didn't know what the fuck they were doing on their first day to someone who they could depend on to work at a high level. I was called into a spare room by Y Manager on Friday of the same week. And these are pretty much his words. Come 31st of Jan, we're gonna let you go. We don't really think you're getting through the work at the pace we want. I couldn't believe what was happening. I didn't have any words. I just nodded and walked back to my computer. The pain and confusion I felt at that moment was the worst I had felt in any one instance that I could remember. It may sound overdramatic for what is tantamount to only not getting a job extension. It's only a job at the end of the day. I have, of course, felt worse. But it was a lightning fast transition from bliss to despair that I'm talking about being the one worst instance I've felt in a long time. It was so bad, I was so shocked that I thought I might have still been dreaming. But it did not take me long to have to face it and accept it. To be honest, it was not the job I really cared about in the end. It was what this meant. It meant that I was wrong about so much I thought to be true. For someone like me who is always planning and calculating, to have a massive part of the equation reject you is perplexing. It meant I had to reevaluate everything I didn't understand. I was receiving positive and encouraging feedback from my team leader, who I had actually grew to taking a little bit of a liking to. Even though my instincts did tell me never mix work and friendship, because can you really trust your work colleagues? I still didn't know whether to believe that he was actually lying to me all the time and outing me behind my back. Of course, that weekend was a write-off. And that was the same day I recorded that initial clip, which ended up being me just ranting in my car for an hour and 15 minutes. Was it an hour and 45 minutes? I can't remember. Hour and 45 is too long. I think it's probably an hour and 15 minutes. Sat in a car park, ranting to myself. But it did help. It did help make me feel a little bit better. And I had to wait till Monday to be able to talk to my team leader to see what really went wrong and ask for honest feedback. He told me that he himself was shocked when the decision came down from above. Also, that when he spoke of Y manager, that Y manager was shocked to hear that an offer he didn't previously okay had been made. And asked, between management, the middleman, and my company, someone fucked up to let me think I was getting extended. However, at least I could take comfort in knowing my team leader thought not only were my skills good enough, but even that they rivaled his. And he was the person to know best since we worked closely together. The people who made the decision were technically in charge, but from another team. And I never even personally worked or even talked with them. To be fair, the contractor who was hired a little while before me was on a different level to me. And maybe even the tech lead. He was on a different level to me, the team leader, pretty much anyone else there, apart from maybe a couple of guys. But, I thought, oh, damn, at the end of the day, it's probably just because he's got a ton of experience, but it does turn out after doing a little bit of digging that he's fairly new to the game too, with around 2.5 years of experience. So, what can I take away from it? At least I wasn't fired, but I wasn't extended either, which is common, but given the circumstances, that was not the outcome I wanted. It felt like I was boxing my heart out, and it was the final round. I had scored a knockdown. And I thought my opponent was going to stay down and out. But with a count to spare, they get back up and stayed up till the final bell went. They won on points, and the victory was snatched away from me in the last minute. Even though I went in as the underdog, who no one expected to win, I fought a good fight, but in reality I still lost. Those who look at the details will see that I far exceeded any expectations of someone in my situation. There are only a handful of people who will ever get the chance to know that much. To everyone else, I just lost. And it stings my ego. I told my colleague off a while back for essentially letting yourself be controlled by your ego. Because he was just complaining about how he can't be confident or happy like me because he wasn't doing as well. I told him only a fool would pin their ego on their accomplishments. You will be defeated, before you even enter the ring as an underdog. And by any chance you make it big, you'll become arrogant and inflated by that same ego that once depressed you. Though I'm not perfectly able to just pull out wonders and not be a little ego driven, because I still wanted to win so badly, so I could put my middle finger. Yeah, it's really hard for me to do that. I'm not used to put my middle finger up. So I could put my middle finger up at the software industry and how it shuts up perfectly able workers like me and other people I've come across just because we have no experience. Experience is overrated. I'm not saying it's not important, it's just overrated, which means there's too much emphasis on it. It was a petty but personal vendetta. I still hold that belief, but I can't triumphantly claim that yet. Though this is obviously not the end, and I will get another contract, and this time I can hit the ground running with everything I've learned over these 3 months. In fact, I even have an interview tomorrow. To be quite honest, I still think it was a mistake how Wine Manager decided to end things, because it was ambiguous as to what metric I wasn't performing on. I can hazard a guess, and all I can say without going too deep is that there was accumulation of situational circumstances that made me look under par. Though it was a mistake on their part, because it was likely that the metrics I wasn't performing on could have easily been addressed in a week or two given the chance. I was also getting better day by day, and with my rate of growth, I'm confident that I could have been one of the best there, if not the best, by the end of that 12-month extension I could have got. However, with that reason, nor rhyme, I was let go without having a chance to defend myself. All I could say is I can't really look at Wine Manager the same way again, and everything I've read about managers online being generally unlikable seems to be playing par for course now. If I was just given a target to hit or quit, then there was a good chance I could have hit it, even if I had to put in extra work. However, now they have to go through an expensive hiring procedure to replace me, and then they will have to wait a few months for the new hire to catch up to speed as well. To be honest, it was a managerial blunder, though that was one of many I witnessed while there. There are enough to make another story of their own. So, this is my last week in Edinburgh, and I will be driving straight from the office back home to Norwich on Friday. For the imminent future, I'll find a new contract. As I said, there's plenty to go around, and I've even got an interview tomorrow, which I stand a good chance of getting. There's even a good chance I'll end up in Belgium, Brussels for work, which would be amazing, but nothing concrete on that yet. Though, for my future, the goal is to rise from no to pro to hero. I haven't explained what this name really means, but I will take the time to do that now. At the minute, I consider myself a no. As in, I don't consider myself to be in a position that I'm proud of. And even when I go independent and make that sweet 500 a day for myself, I would still consider myself at the peak of what it is to be a no. The money is great, don't get me wrong, but I'm already starting to feel the wear of working on code with all its frustrations for someone else who doesn't care about you. Even though at first I wanted to stamp my name on the project as I believed in it, when I knew that it was no longer in the cards, I realized I didn't even really enjoy coding with all the anti-productivity processes we had inherited at work. So, how do I elevate to that of a pro? I want to start my own consultancy firm that goes around cleaning up and fixing technical processes that go wrong in the workplace, almost like a contract on steroids. To make the same amount of money, I would probably only need to work between 2 to 6 months a year, which would leave me with more time to do things and pursue the work I'm truly passionate about. Not to mention, I'll be a boss. So I'll get to say how things are done, which should ideally lead to less frustration, at least for me. Luckily, I'm in a fairly unique position to be able to do something like this, as even though I have less expert experience in Android development than my peers, I have a much wider and vast knowledge about tech than most of the people I was working with. Now, to get to the final level of hero, I want to start up my own tech company. Doing what exactly? I've got several ideas. Some are more viable than others, though I believe I can make it. It's just a matter of time. Now, even with my unfaltering drive, I will not be arrogant enough as to aim to become your hero. No, I don't want to be your hero. I want to be my own hero. After all, my philosophy is there isn't a single person who doesn't love a story in one form or another. So your life will be the most immersive story you will ever get to experience, where you are simultaneously the author, character, and audience. Why waste the opportunity when you can make it the best story of all and become your own hero? The goal is to use this year to develop myself and gather my ideas, and learn from every single experience to create the foothold for my consultant firm. Hopefully being able to start trading in 2021. And it's quite an ambitious goal because I would only have, say, about a year and 3 months worth of experience by then. And I'm jumping straight into something that even most seniors of 5, 10 plus years of experience still never pursue to do. But I think I can do it. I think I can leapfrog everyone. It's arrogant as fuck, I know, coming out of my mouth, but you need a little bit of arrogance if you want to make your dreams be true. Because, as I was saying, it might sound arrogant to talk about your dreams as openly as I am. Though, all I'm doing at the end of the day is focusing one day at a time. Making sure I improve a bit day by day. As long as I continue to do that, then this year will be a great one. As long as I don't let up, I don't think what I dream of is out of reach with my current rate of progress. Just like an athlete or a musician, I want to be the best. I want to win, and I couldn't forgive myself if I didn't realize my potential. I'll aim for the stars, because even if I fail to bask in their radiant embrace, I can still soar through the skies. I might have fallen today, but tomorrow I'll brush it off and stand tall again. For the journey has just begun, and this is all but a small encounter on the path to becoming a hero.